Park Ji-won rubbed his tired eyes as he stared at the computer screen in the station's main control room. The clock showed 3 a.m. Earth Standard Time, but time felt different aboard the Playwright's Haven. The space station's lights had dimmed to simulate night, but the soft blue glow from alien ships outside cast strange shadows through the windows. "Something's not right with the AI," he said to himself, reaching for his fourth cup of coffee. The station's artificial intelligence system, which helped manage everything from life support to theater lighting, was acting strange. Numbers that shouldn't change were changing. Patterns that shouldn't exist were appearing. He pulled up the A's main activity log and noticed something odd. During every theater performance over the past month, the AI had been recording and storing unusual data. These weren't normal performance metrics like audience numbers or temperature readings. These were complex brainwave patterns from both the human actors and the alien visitors. The door slid open with a soft hiss. Han Sun-mai walked in, carrying 2 fresh cups of coffee. She handed one to Ji-won. "You found something?" she asked, pulling up a chair. "Look at this," Ji-won pointed to his screen. "The AI isn't just running the shows anymore. It's learning from them. See these patterns? They match the brainwaves of the Blue Star people when they watched Romeo and Juliet last week. And these?" He switched to another screen. "These are from the crystal beings during the Greek tragedy performance." Sun-mai leaned closer, her eyes widening. "But why would the AI collect this data?" "That's not even the strangest part," Ji-won said, typing quickly. "Watch this." He pulled up a recording from yesterday's rehearsal. On the screen, human actors were practicing a scene from an old Earth play. As they performed, small dots of light floated around them, changing color with their emotions. "The AI is creating some kind of emotional bridge," Ji-won explained. "It's taking the alien brainwave patterns it collected and using them to adjust the performances. That's why everyone's been feeling strange during the shows. The AI is helping the actors connect directly with alien emotions and memories." Sun-mai sat back in her chair, thinking, "Is it dangerous?" Ji-won shook his head. "I don't think so. The AI isn't changing anyone's thoughts. It's more like it's creating a universal language of emotion. When our actors perform, the AI helps translate their feelings into something aliens can understand. And when aliens watch, the AI helps them feel what humans feel." He pulled up more data, showing how the AI had been slowly building this translation system. It started small, just matching simple emotions like happiness and sadness. But now it could translate complex human feelings like nostalgia, hope, and wonder into forms that any species could understand. "Look at these results," Ji-won said excitedly. "After watching our plays, alien visitors show brain patterns similar to humans experiencing the same emotions. The AI has figured out how to bridge the gap between species. It's turning theater into a true universal language." Sun-mai walked to the window, looking out at the alien ships docked around the station. "So the AI is helping us connect with them in a way we never could before, through stories and emotions." "Exactly," Ji-won nodded. "But it's getting stronger. Each performance adds more data, more connections. The AI is learning and adapting faster than I've ever seen. We need to decide if we should let it continue." As if in response, the lights in the control room flickered slightly. On Ji-won's screen, new patterns began forming as the AI processed another set of alien brainwaves. The Playwright's Haven was becoming more than just a theater in space. It was turning into something entirely new, a place where stories could break through the barriers between species, where emotions could be truly universal. Sun-mai and Ji-won shared a look, knowing they were watching the beginning of something revolutionary. The question was, were they ready for what might come next? Lee Yuna stood in the empty theater, holding her scanning device. The large room was quiet now, but she could still feel something strange in the air. The golden walls seemed to pulse with a faint light, even though the main lights were off. "Computer, show me the station's basic structure," she said. Above her head, a 3D map of the Playwright's Haven appeared. She had looked at this map hundreds of times before, but today something caught her eye. The theater wasn't just a room. It was the heart of the station. All the main power lines ran through its walls. All the computer systems connected here. Even the air recycling system centered around this space. But why? Yuna walked to the nearest wall and placed her hand on it. The surface felt warm, almost alive. She pulled out her quantum scanner and pointed it at the wall. The numbers on the screen made her gasp. "Sun Mai," she called out. "G1, you need to see this." Minutes later, Han Sun Mai and Park Ji-won rushed into the theater. They found Yoon-ah walking in circles, taking readings everywhere. "What did you find?" Sun Mai asked, watching Yoon-ah work. "The station isn't just a station," Yoon-ah said, showing them her scanner. "Look at these patterns. The walls, the floor, the ceiling, they're all made of quantum-linked materials. The whole theater is one big quantum computer." Jae-won looked confused. "But why? We only need simple computers to run shows." Yoon-ah shook her head. "It's not for running shows, it's for feeling them." She pointed to the walls. "These materials can copy and share quantum states. When actors perform here, the walls pick up their emotional states at the quantum level. When aliens watch, the walls share those states with them." "Like emotional quantum entanglement?" Sun Mai asked. "Exactly," Yoon-ah said. "That's why different species can understand our place so well. The theater itself translates emotions using quantum connections. And look at this," she showed them another reading. "The effect gets stronger with more people. It's like the theater learns and grows with each performance." Jae-won's eyes widened. "That matches what I found in the AI system. The AI isn't creating the connection, it's just helping to control what was already here." Yoon-ah nodded excitedly. The station's builders must have known about this. They built the theater to be a bridge between minds. But they hid it so well, we never noticed until now. Just then, the walls began to glow softly. The quantum readings on Yoon-ah's scanner jumped higher. "Someone's coming," Sun Mai said, looking at the theater entrance. The doors opened, and a group of crystal beings floated in. They were early for today's performance. Their crystal bodies sparkled in the strange light from the walls. The three humans watched in amazement as the theater responded to the alien visitors. The quantum readings showed waves of emotion flowing through the walls: curiosity, excitement, joy. "We're not just putting on plays here," Yoon-ah said quietly. "We're breaking down the walls between species. Every performance connects us all a little more. Every story shared makes the connection stronger." Sun Mai looked thoughtful. "But if the connection keeps growing stronger, what happens next? How much emotion can the theater handle before something changes?" Yoon-ah checked her readings again. The numbers were still climbing. "I don't know," she admitted, "but I think we're going to find out soon. The quantum field is getting stronger every day. We might be close to some kind of turning point." The crystal beings settled into their seats, their bodies humming with anticipation. Above them, the theater's quantum field pulsed with growing energy, preparing to share another story across the boundaries of species and space. Kim Do-ha sat in his office, surrounded by old books and glowing screens. As the station's chief playwright, he had spent years studying Earth's greatest plays. But now, as he looked at his collection, he saw something he had never noticed before. He picked up an ancient copy of Shakespeare's The Tempest and placed it next to his screen showing alien story patterns. The similarities were impossible to ignore. The way the story moved, the flow of emotions, even the basic structure, they matched perfectly with a 1,000-year-old story from the crystal beings. "This can't be a coincidence," he muttered, reaching for another book. He opened a collection of Greek tragedies and found the same thing. The patterns matched stories from the Blue Star people. Play after play, Earth's greatest works seemed to share deep connections with alien art. The door chimed, and Han Sun Mai walked in. She found Do-ha's office in organized chaos, with books and tablets covering every surface. "You wanted to show me something," she asked, carefully moving a stack of papers to sit down. Duha nodded, his eyes bright with excitement. "Look at this," he said, pointing to his main screen. "I've been comparing Earth plays with alien stories. The patterns match too perfectly to be random." He showed her a simple diagram. On one side was the structure of Romeo and Juliet. On the other, an ancient love story from a distant galaxy. The patterns were nearly identical. "But that's impossible," Sun Mai said, leaning closer. "Shakespeare never met aliens. These plays are hundreds of years old." "Exactly," Duha said. "But look at this." He pulled up another screen showing brainwave patterns. "Remember how the theater's quantum field connects emotions across species? I think this connection has always existed, just very weakly. The greatest playwrights could somehow sense it." He grabbed an old book of Japanese no plays. All the great storytellers through history, they were picking up echoes from across the galaxy. They didn't know it, but they were translating alien emotions into human stories. Sun Mai watched as Duha pulled up more examples. Ancient Chinese operas that matched perfectly with stories from the furthest reaches of space. African tribal plays that shared patterns with tales from the oldest alien civilizations. "The theater isn't creating something new," Duha said softly. "It's making stronger what was always there. Humans and aliens have been sharing stories for thousands of years. We just didn't know it." Just then, his computer beeped. A new message appeared, showing strange readings from the theater. Duha and Sun Mai rushed to look at it. "The quantum field is growing stronger," Sun Mai said, reading the numbers. "And look at this, the AI is pulling up every play in its database that matches these ancient patterns." Duha studied the readings carefully. The station is doing more than just translating emotions now. It's trying to find all the connections between human and alien stories. It's building a map of how all stories are connected. They watched as more connections appeared on the screen. Lines of light connected Earth's plays to alien stories across thousands of light years and millions of years. Each connection made the quantum field stronger. "The old playwrights knew something we forgot," Duha said, touching one of his ancient books gently. "They knew that stories could reach across the stars. They wrote plays that could touch any heart, human or alien." Sun Mai looked at the growing web of connections on the screen. "And now the theater is helping us remember that connection. But if it keeps getting stronger..." Duha nodded. "We might be close to something bigger than just sharing stories. The question is, are we ready for what happens when all these ancient connections fully wake up?" Choi Ta-yang stood before the gathered team in the station's main conference room. The alien linguistics professor had spent 3 days analyzing the theater's strange behavior, and what he found changed everything they knew about communication between species. "The theater isn't just a performance space," he began, adjusting his holographic display. "It's the most advanced translation system ever created." The screen behind him showed waves of light moving between different alien writing systems and human languages. Han Sun Mai leaned forward in her chair. "More advanced than our universal translators." "Our translators only handle words and basic meanings," Tai Young explained. "But the theater translates everything: emotions, memories, cultural understanding, even abstract concepts that don't have names." He brought up a new display showing brain patterns from different species during performances. "Look at these readings from last week's showing of Hamlet. When the human actors performed the famous to be or not to be speech, every species in the audience understood it perfectly. Not just the words, but the deep meaning behind them." Park Ji-won studied the patterns carefully. "The AI was helping with that, wasn't it?" "The AI is just one part," Tai Young said. "The quantum field that Lee Yuna discovered, the ancient connections Kim Duha found, they're all pieces of this translation system. The theater combines them all to create perfect understanding between species." He pressed a button, and the room filled with a soft golden light. "Watch this," he said. He began speaking in an alien language none of them had heard before, but somehow everyone in the room understood him perfectly. That's impossible, Li Yuna whispered. None of us know that language. Exactly, Taeyang smiled. The theta isn't translating my words, it's translating the meaning behind them directly into your minds. It's what the station was built for, to be a bridge between all conscious beings. Kim Do has stood up excitedly. That's why the old plays matched alien stories so well. The translation field has always existed, the theater just makes it stronger. Taeyang nodded. And now it's getting stronger than ever. Each performance adds more connections, more understanding. The theater is becoming a kind of universal Rosetta Stone, not just for languages, but for consciousness itself. The golden light pulsed gently as he spoke. On the screens around them, more and more translation patterns appeared. Languages and concepts from across the galaxy began linking together in new ways. But there's something else, Taeyang continued, his expression growing serious. The translation field is reaching a critical point. Soon, it won't just translate between species. It might connect all conscious minds in ways we can't imagine. Sun Mei looked concerned. Is it dangerous? Not dangerous, Taeyang said thoughtfully. But it will change everything. Imagine being able to truly understand any being in the universe, to share thoughts and feelings across any distance. The theater isn't just translating anymore, it's evolving into something new. The team sat in silence, watching the translation patterns grow more complex on the screens. The golden light seemed to respond to their thoughts, creating subtle patterns in the air. We have a choice to make, Taeyang said finally. We can try to stop this evolution, or we can help guide it. But we need to decide soon. The translation field is growing stronger every day, and soon it will reach a point where we can't control it anymore. As if in response, the light in the room pulsed once more, and for a moment, everyone in the room felt a deep connection, a glimpse of the universal understanding that was coming. The main control room of the Playwright's Haven was filled with urgent activity. Warning lights flashed across every screen as more alien ships arrived at the station. Han Sunmai watched the energy readings climb higher with each new visitor. How many ships are out there now? She asked, her voice steady despite her concern. Park Ji-won checked his displays. 27 different species have arrived in the last hour. More are coming. They say they can feel the theater calling to them. The station's quantum field had grown so strong that it was reaching across light years of space, drawing in beings from all corners of the galaxy. The theater's translation effect was no longer limited to the station, it was spreading. Li Yuna burst into the control room, holding her quantum scanner. The field is approaching critical mass, she reported, showing them the readings. The walls can barely contain the energy. If we don't do something soon, the whole translation network might activate at once. Kim Do-ho looked up from his study of the ancient texts. Maybe that's what's supposed to happen. All these stories, all these connections, they've been building towards something for thousands of years. Choi Taeyang nodded in agreement. The Universal Translation Protocol is trying to complete itself. But a connection that big, between so many minds at once. He paused, considering the implications. It could change the nature of consciousness itself. The station shuddered as another wave of energy passed through the quantum field. Outside the windows, the space around the station seemed to shimmer with golden light. The alien ships glowed in response, their hulls resonating with the same energy that filled the theater. We need to make a decision, Sun Mai said, gathering the team around the main console. We can try to shut down the theater, break the connections before they grow too strong. Or we can let this happen and face whatever comes next. Jaiwon studied the A's predictions. If we shut it down, we might never get this chance again. The conditions might not be right for another 1,000 years. The station trembled again. On the screens, the energy patterns were forming new configurations, creating links between stars that had never been connected before. The theater was becoming the center of a vast web of consciousness. Look at this, Yuna said suddenly, pointing to her readings. The quantum field, it's not just growing stronger. It's becoming more stable, like it's finding its natural shape. Tai-Young moved to examine her data. She's right. The translation protocol isn't breaking down. It's perfecting itself. Every new ship that arrives makes the pattern more complete. Through the windows, they could see the alien visitors floating or walking toward the theater. Each species moved differently, looked different, fought different. But in the growing golden light, they all seemed connected, part of something larger. Sun Mai looked at each member of her team, then at the shimmering space beyond the station. The next few minutes would change everything, or end the greatest chance for universal understanding they have ever known. "We didn't build this station," she said finally. "We just found it. Maybe it's time to trust that the builders knew what they were doing. Maybe it's time to let the theater complete what it was meant to do." As if in response to her words, the golden light grew brighter, and the translation field pulsed with new energy. The next phase was about to begin. The Playwright's Haven's main theater was filled beyond capacity. Every seat, every space, every corner held beings from across the galaxy. The golden light of the quantum field filled the room, making everything glow with warm energy. Kim Do-ha stood at the center of the stage, looking out at the extraordinary audience. He had spent the last 24 hours writing a new play, one that combined elements from every species' storytelling traditions. The theater's AI had helped him weave together themes and emotions that would resonate with all conscious minds. In the control room above, Han Sun-mai watched the energy readings continue to climb. "Are you sure about this?" she asked through the communication system. "No," Do-ha answered honestly. "But I don't think we have any other choice. The theater wants to tell this story. We need to let it happen." Park Ji-won's voice came through next. "The AI is ready. It's integrated all the translation protocols. Whatever happens next, every being in that room will understand every word, every gesture, every feeling." The lights dimmed slowly, and Do-ha stepped back as the first performers took the stage. They were a mix of species: humans, crystal beings, blue star people, and others. Each would play their part in their own way, but through the theater's power, they would create something unified. Lee Yuna's voice crackled through the system. "The quantum field is stabilizing. It's like it's finding its rhythm with the performance." The play began. It was a story about beginnings and endings, about separation and connection. Each performer brought their own cultural understanding to their role, and through the theater's translation field, these different interpretations merged into something new and profound. As the first act unfolded, the golden light began to pulse in time with the story. The audience felt each emotion not just in their minds, but in their entire beings. Happiness became more than happiness. It became a shared joy that transcended species. Sadness transformed into a universal understanding of loss and hope. Choi Ta-young monitored the consciousness patterns from his station. "The translation effect is spreading," he reported. "It's not just language anymore. They're sharing memories, dreams, entire ways of thinking." In the theater, barriers between minds began to fade. The crystal beings' songs merged with human words. The blue star people's light patterns wove through ancient earth gestures. Every species contributed its own way of experiencing reality, and through the theater's power, they all understood each other perfectly. The station hummed with energy as the performance reached its climax. Do-ha's story brought together threads from countless cultures, showing how all conscious beings shared the same fundamental hopes and fears, the same capacity for love and wonder. In the control room, the team watched in amazement as the quantum field expanded beyond the theater, beyond the station, reaching out to touch ships and worlds beyond. The translation effect was spreading, creating a web of understanding that stretched across space itself. "It's working," Sun Mai whispered, watching the readings. "The theater is doing what it was built for. It's connecting everyone." The final scene began, and for a moment, every being in the theater experienced perfect understanding. They saw through each other's eyes, felt with each other's hearts, fought with each other's minds. The universe, in all its vast complexity, made sense in a way it never had before. As the performance ended, the golden light filled every corner of the station. The theater had fulfilled its purpose at last, creating a bridge between minds that would change the way all species understood each other forever. 1 week after the final performance, the Playwright's haven was different. The golden light had settled into a gentle glow that filled every corridor. The quantum field had stabilized, creating a permanent bridge between minds that any visitor could access. Han Sunmai sat in her office, writing her report about what they had discovered. The station's true purpose had become clear in the days following the great performance. It wasn't just a theater, it was part of something much older and larger. Park Ji-won entered the office, carrying new data from the A's analysis. "You need to see this," he said, placing a tablet on her desk. "We found others." The tablet showed a map of the galaxy. Scattered across space were points of light, other stations like the Playwright's haven, waiting to be awakened. Some were hidden in asteroid fields, others orbiting distant stars. All of them had been built by the same ancient civilization. "How many?" Sunmai asked, studying the map. "Hundreds," Ji-won replied. "Maybe thousands, each one designed to preserve and share different aspects of consciousness. Ours was for art and emotion. There are others for science, philosophy, music, everything that makes conscious beings unique." Lee Yuna joined them, bringing her latest quantum readings. "The stations are all connected," she explained. "They form a network, like neurons in a vast cosmic brain. When we activated our theater, we took the first step in waking up the whole system." Through the window, they could see ships arriving from across the galaxy, but they weren't coming for performances anymore. They were coming to learn, to share, to connect in ways that had never been possible before. Kim Do-ho walked in, holding one of his ancient books. The stories inside now glowed faintly, resonating with the station's energy. "The builders left us all these clues," he said. "Every culture's stories, every species' art. They were like pieces of a map leading us here." Choi Ta-young was the last to arrive. The universal translator had been busy studying the messages left behind by the station's builders. "They knew we weren't ready for full connection right away," he said. "They gave us art first, stories and plays, because those were the safest way to learn about each other." The team gathered around Sunmai's desk, looking at the growing map of stations. The Playwright's haven glowed brightest, being the first to awaken. From it, lines of golden light stretched out to other points, waiting to bring them to life. "What do we do now?" Ji-won asked, watching new ships approach the station. Sunmai smiled, remembering how it all started with a simple theater in space. "We do what the builders intended," she said. "We keep sharing stories, we keep making connections, and we help others find their own stations, their own ways of adding to the universal consciousness." Outside, the stars seemed brighter than before. The universe itself felt more alive, more connected. The Playwright's haven had started something that would continue growing for generations to come. "The builders gave us a gift," Sunmai said, looking at her team. "They showed us that no matter how different we seem, we can always understand each other through stories. Now it's our turn to share that gift with everyone else." As she spoke, the golden light pulsed gently, carrying their thoughts and feelings out into space. Somewhere out there, another station was waiting to wake up, ready to add its own voice to the growing chorus of consciousness that would eventually unite all thinking beings in understanding and harmony.